Okay, so now we're going to start talking about functions. I'm down here on the second sheet here in the workbook. And now we're going to come in and using some of our basic functions. And if you remember, we talked the other day about our fabulous 5 functions. So I'm going to use a few of those here as well as another one. So here it says we want to use the average. It says in cells C3 through C11 to determine these values. What are the average of these values? Okay, that is one of our fabulous 5. I could come here and I could type average. That would be one way to get it. Okay. Another way to get it would be to come to my formulas tab and I could say auto sum and come to average. Another way to get there would be to go to our math functions and know that average is one of our, actually it's one of our statistics functions, I think. Yeah, so come here, you'd have to come into statistics. Where is average? And this is me. I'm not even sure that I know. See, I think it's in statistical. There it is. It's under average here. So I kind of know where they sit, and even I have sometimes hard time finding them. So the easiest way to do a function, if you don't know where to find it in these various menus, is to come right over here to where it says either insert function on the formulas tab or insert function right here on the formula bar. If you're not on the formulas tab, obviously it'd be a little easier to just hit it here. When you hit insert function, you can actually say, what function do I want to do? What is it I want to be able to do? I want to be able to do an average. So I can type that, and I'm going to have it look in all the categories and say go. And it says here average. Okay, returns the average or arithmetic mean of the arguments, which can be numbers, names, arrays, references that contain numbers. That's the one we want. So I'm going to go ahead and say okay. Now it says, oh, okay, here's your average function. And then it opens up the dialog box for me to show kind of what I need to do. And in this instance, it's saying number or range of numbers. So I'm just going to highlight that. And now I'm going to take the average of the numbers from F3 to F7, and I'm going to say OK. So that's probably our easiest way to do that. I'm going to go ahead and show you that again using our insert function. This time it says we want the median. Okay, so we're going to do median. Okay, and I typically look in all and say go. There's our median. It says returns the median or the middle number of a set of values. So I'm not going to get a whole lot into the statistics of it, but the middle number is the true middle number. So in this instance, 100, 92, 88, 80, and 75. So I have to organize them in descending order. And then once I have that, it'll pick the middle number. In this instance, it'll be 88. Okay, and actually it says it's going to be 87, which is not one of our numbers. Oh, it's because I did C3 and C4. Notice right here, I'm like that. I knew that was not correct because I'm like that number was not one of my numbers, so it couldn't be it. Let me go ahead and do that median again. And I just, let me see, median. And we're going to look under all and say go. I'm going to go ahead and take that median. Now, what number is it wants me to look at? I need to make sure that I've got this F3 through F7 there. Now it's giving me that what would be the middle number, 88. Okay, our highest value is going to be one of our functions that's available to us in our auto sum. I could look it up and I could say max. I'm just going to use it here and use the max value of those 5 numbers. So instead of pulling up the dialog box, I'm just doing it directly here in the formula bar. And our lowest, and that's 100, and our lowest value should come back as 75. And that one's going to be a min value. And the minimum value of those 5 numbers. Hit the enter key, and that pulls that up. Now, total is one that sometimes confuses people because the function isn't called total. The function is called sum. But what sum does is it gives you a total number of things. Okay, it adds things up. Okay, in this instance, highlight those, hit the enter key, and I get my summation total. So you can kind of see that those are kind of how some of those basic functions work. Okay, I'm going to show you another one here called sum product. Sum product is kind of how cash registers work. And basically you come in and you've got, in this instance, we've bought 3 desktop computers, 4 laptops, a printer, 5 print cartridges, 7, I guess we call them mice or mouse, and 3 monitors. Now, I could take each of these and take the price times the quantity, put it over here, and then add them all up. But there's a function in Excel called SumProduct that does that for me. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to insert function SumProduct and show you how that works. Okay, and I'm going to have it look at all and say go. There's our SumProduct. It says returns the sum of the products of corresponding ranges or arrays. A product is where you multiply things and then we sum them all up. Okay, so that's what we want to do. And it says array 1. It says these are the numbers that you want to multiply and then add the components. Okay, I'm going to show you a couple of if you didn't know how to use this function, one of the easiest things to do is Microsoft Help is actually pretty good. And you can come down here where it says help on this function, and it'll actually open up the Microsoft, let me show you what that's opening. It's opening up the Microsoft Help page here. And let me make that a little bigger so you guys can see it. And what happens on that Help page is it actually tells you how it works. Okay, so in this instance, it says it'll match all the instances of yes and medium on this one. Okay, let's come down here and look at this one though. This is just really basic how to use a SumProduct. And this is going to be similar to what we've got. And it says the first thing you want to do is what is the first array you want to look at is going to be the prices. And then the second array that you want to look at is going to be the quantities. And then it'll take those, multiply them together, and then add them up. Okay, so that a lot of times will help you get through the process if you don't know how to do it, is to utilize that help function. Okay, so in this instance, because sometimes the text here really kind of doesn't help you out. So we're going to take our B values, B4 through B9, and here for array 2, I'm going to take my quantities. Okay, so I've got my prices and then my quantities. I'm going to go ahead and say OK, and it tells me that total is 7,065. Now I'm going to show you that that's true, and I'm just going to do a real quick calculation out here to the side to show you that that's actually accurate. Okay, we're going to take our price times our quantity. Okay, and I'm going to just pull that down for all of them, right? And then we'll get all of them. And then I'm just going to do a summation at the bottom down here. And look at that, 7,065, 7,065. So me having to do all of that took place in one function right here. Okay, just kind of give you a quick idea of how that works. All right, so that's our SumProduct. The next one I want to show you is a little bit about that absolute versus relative reference that we talked about in the last video. So absolute versus relative. It says in cell B8 here, we're going to total the book sales. Total means sum. So I'm going to click my auto sum and get that total. Now it says when you copy the formula over now to C8 and D8, do we want an absolute reference to the range of cells or a relative reference? Okay. Well, if I make it absolute, what would stay the same? Whenever I'm thinking of if something needs to stay absolute, I ask myself, does anything need to stay the same? Okay, in this instance, none of them do. I'm actually just going to copy that across, and we get our magazines, and if I double click here, I get my CDs. Okay, now, let's take a look at this one. All right. This one says, calculate the sales tax paid when the $1.84 item is purchased. Okay, so it's going to be equals our price times, right up here's our sales tax rate, 8.75. Now, it says when you copy the formula to cells C16 through C18, do you want absolute reference to your range of cells or relative? Well, in this instance, do I have something that needs to stay the same? Well, I do have something that needs to stay the same. I have this sales tax rate that needs to stay the same. So I need to make sure that that is an absolute reference. So I'm going to use the function on my keyboard and hit F4 so that I now have O13 remaining the same. I'm going to hit enter and I'll copy that down. Okay. Now, I'm going to show you something else that's kind of neat. but instead of copying that down, I'm going to actually go ahead and do the total cost right here. And the total cost is going to be my price. And I'm going to add to my price the sales tax. So that's actually what I have to pay at the store. Now, interestingly enough, if I highlight both of those cells, notice I have a little bitty guy right down here, and it says I can either do quick analysis, which in this instance I don't want to, but if I have that little black plus, I get the ability to come in, and it's saying B17 plus C17, okay, and then in C17, my O13 is remaining the same. So that made it really quick. I had to just calculate 2 of them essentially, and then pull it down to get the rest of them. And I only had to pull it down once if I highlighted everything I needed to do. So in that instance, we did have to use an absolute reference to maintain our sales tax rate, because that needed to stay the same. Okay, and this one says students took a test last week and had 100 possible points. And that's what we've got in cell C27. Now it says in C28 through 33, I've got the number of points that was earned by each student. So beginning right over here, how do I determine the percentage? Well, the percentage is the part divided by the whole. So we take equals, it's the part divided by the whole. Now, if I'm going to copy that down, what needs to stay the same? Well, in this instance, that maximum score, the maximum number of points on the exam, needs to stay the same. So I would need to make sure that was an F4. Okay, I'm going to do it wrong and show you guys what it would look like if I didn't do that. Okay, so here I've got, now if I came down, oh, look at this, I got 107%. How did I get 107%? Well, it's because I took C30 and divided it by C29. Because as I pulled it down, because they were relative, it moved both the numerator and the denominator down. Okay, so I'm going to hit escape, and I'm going to go ahead and back up out of that. And come back into this one, and where it says C27, I'm going to make that absolute. Okay, because we know that that numerator changes, but the denominator needs to stay the same. Okay, and in this instance, these percentages are the same as the points because we used 100. But what if the maximum score had been 120? Now watch this. I'm going to change that maximum score. As soon as I do that, notice all my percentages changed. And that's the value of making sure these are cell references rather than just a number. Okay, put it back to 100, and you'll see those percentages come back. Okay, all right. This one is using our payment function, and I'm just going to show you real quick how to use the payment function. We'll get some more in depth into it, but in this one I'm showing it to you primarily to show you the absolute referencing. Okay, this one says calculate the monthly payment for option 1 in cell B43. Okay, so I'm going to use what's called the payment function. It's one of our financial functions, and I could scroll down and find it here, PMT, or I could come in and insert my function, or it's probably in my recently used because I use it a bunch. You know, there's different ways of finding it. So I'm going to pull it out of this recently used, and the payment function says, okay, the payment function says rate. Okay, rate in cell B41, okay, needs to be the periodic rate. Okay, so I'm going to just put that that's the rate there in B41. Okay, in PER says that's the number of payments that we're going to make, and that's here. It says it's cell B42. So really it's just telling us what we need to put into it. And then here it says PV, payment value, is going to be C45. So this is C45. Okay, now I'm going to copy this across in a minute. So as I look at this, for option 1, my periodic rate and my number of payments changes, but my loan amount does not. Okay, so my loan amount doesn't change. So I want to make sure that my loan amount is going to be an absolute reference, and I need to make sure that that's there. So I say okay, and that's good. It tells me my payment's going to be $395.12, and that's pretty standard. It's a negative because of the way the banks look at it. So if we wanted to make that a positive, I could come up here and just put a negative in front of that payment, or I could put a negative in front of the loan amount. Okay, so you can do that. Now when I copy it across and I click into that, notice it's got this C45 didn't change, but the other ones did. Okay, so that absolute referencing is going to be really important as you move through different functions. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and show you the if function real quick. The if function is kind of a neat function. What it does is it basically asks the question, if this thing is true, do this. Otherwise, do this. So we do if functions all the time. The best one I can think of is I'm driving along and I come up on a traffic light, and if the light is red, stop. If the light is green, go. You know, if it were just red and green, that would be a pretty easy, but we also have the yellow in there, but assuming we just had red and green, you would say, if the light is red, stop, otherwise, go. You could also do the statement, if the light is green, go, otherwise stop. So it just depends on how you want to set it up. So for an if function, you always have to have something for the computer to analyze. So I typically say you need some kind of equation. It needs to be an equal, it needs to be a greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, something that lets it see that there's some kind of comparison taking place. Okay, so in this instance, Ryan's got a weekly chore list, and then he gets a certain amount of money if he does that chore for the week, and then earns his allowance. And then here we've got whether or not he completed the chore. Now this is a pretty short list. I probably could figure this out pretty quickly, but if I had hundreds of pieces of data, I certainly wouldn't want to do it by hand. Okay, so it says use an if function in cell D3 to determine the amount of allowance Ryan earned for making his bed. Did he do it? And then copy those down to see if that's going to work, okay? So we're going to do an if function. If is here under our logical, okay? There aren't a whole lot of the logical functions, but I could also do the insert function, and you can see right here, it's here in my recently used, but I could also type if right up here. I'm going to say okay. Now, remember I told you before that you had to have something that let you, I'm trying to make it so you guys can kind of see that. So what is it that we're going to test? Our logical test is a value or expression that can be evaluated true or false. So in this instance, I need to see whether or not he completed the chore. Did he complete the chore? So I look at the value here in C3. Is it equal to, and then this is something that's a little different about Excel, is if you are going to put a text string, in this instance y is a text value, you always have to put it in double quotes. So here, double quote, y, double quote. Okay, so if that value is equal to y, what would be the value I need here in this cell? What did he earn? Well, then he earned his allowance for the week. Okay. If it isn't yes, then he didn't get anything. So I would just put a 0. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and say okay. Now, he did make his bed. Did he tidy his room? No. So I should expect to see a 0 there. When I pull that down, I get zeros where the no's are, and I get the value where the yeses are. Okay, and you could go in and double check that. You can see that it went down to C7 and evaluated C7. So those would be a very basic if statement. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the next if function here. This one, I've got quite a few pieces of information here, some inventory of spices, and it says, let me go ahead and make that a little smaller so we can read the box. Use a function in cell H4, right here, that will determine if we need to, if the quantity in stock is adequate or if we need to reorder them. We reorder if stock is less than 15, and then if it's time to reorder, we say order, otherwise we say okay. So I'm going to do an if function again, and I can just, this time I'm just going to type if. Now, if you're typing a function, when you get to this point, you can either open it, a parenthesis, or you can just hit the tab button, and the tab will automatically put that parenthesis in. Now, it does not automatically open our dialog box. If I want to automatically open my dialog box, I can come right up here. Because I already have my function identified, I hit FX, and it opens my dialog box for me. What am I looking for? It says if the quantity in stock. Okay, so here's my quantity in stock over here in column A. So is my quantity in stock in the row that I'm in, A4, is it less than 15? Okay, that's what I'm evaluating. Okay, if it is less than 15, I want to return the text string order. So I open quote, order, close quote. Okay, here, if it's false, open quote, okay, close double quote. So that's kind of what I would get for my true or my false. Okay, another thing when you're looking at these dialog boxes, whatever is in bold text is required. If you don't put anything in the ones that aren't bold, this would return true, this would return false. So there are some kind of defaults there. But whenever you're working on these function dialog boxes, you must put in the ones that are bold. Okay, so we're going to say okay. And in that instance, it says order. So I didn't have anything that is going to change because this number 15 is hardwired in. When I go ahead and copy that down, notice I just double clicked it and it went all the way to the bottom because it was able to see that that's how far my information went. And there we go, okay to order. And so some of them need to be ordered. Is that true? Less than 15? Yes. Less than 15? Yes. All of those are more than 15 or more. Okay, so that would be another basic if function. I've got two more quick ones I kind of want to go through, and then I'll stop the video. But I'm going to go ahead and finish this if function here. It says a shipping company charges an additional $15 to ship fragile items. Makes sense. In cell C3, calculate any surcharge amount needed to ship any glass tables. Okay, use the autofill handle to determine surcharge amounts for the remaining items. Okay, so I'm going to say equals if. Actually, this time I'm going to go ahead and do my logical and hit if. And my logical test this time is if this value is equal to if it says fragile. Okay, so we need it. Is it going to say fragile? So I have to make sure and put those quotes in. Okay, if the value is true, I need to add $15. So the surcharge amount is going to be 15 if it's fragile. And I could put a $sign in front of that or not. Just kind of depends on how you would want to do it. And the value, if false, is going to be 0. I don't have a surcharge if it's not fragile. Okay. And it says go ahead and add that in. Now I can copy that down. And I should see 15 where it's fragile and 0 where it's sturdy. So every time I do my if statement, I have to have some kind of thing I'm evaluating, and then what's my true and what's my false. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do this last if function here. This one says in cell C5, use the if function to determine regular hours for Jerome. Regular hours are hours up to 40. Okay, 40 or fewer are considered regular. The maximum value that can appear in this column is 40. Okay, then copy it down, and then we're going to, once we do that, then we're going to see how many overtime hours they have with a simple formula. Okay, so does Jerome have, any, we're going to calculate and see whether he's got regular hours or not. Okay, so I'm going to say equals if, and this time I'm going to just type that, open parenthesis, but I'm going to go ahead and hit my insert function and bring up my dialog box so you guys can see that. The logical test is going to be, is this value, B5, is it less than, or, is it greater than 40? Now, if I could also say greater than, and if I need to say greater than or equal, notice when we do that in mathematics, we would have the greater than symbol with a line under it. Well, Excel can't do that because that's not on your keyboard. So the way it recognizes it is it says greater than or equal. Okay, so is it greater than or equal to 40? And we could actually, this could just be greater than 40, but I wanted to go ahead and show you that greater than or equal to symbol. So if the value is true, if it's greater than or equal to 40, we return 40. Okay, because they can't have more than regular hours. The value if false, meaning if it's not greater than or equal to 40, then I can return the number of hours they had. Now I could have written that differently. I could have said, is B5 less than 40? or less than or equal to 40. And value, if true, would then return the total hours. And the value of false would return 40. So it just depends on how you set it up logically. Okay? All right, so now we've got what Jerome's regular hours are going to be. His regular hours are going to be 34.50. Now when I copy it down, you'll see that here Heather had more than 40 and Kylie had more than 40, so it returned 40 for those values. So our overtime hours are just going to be her total hours. So I forgot my equals my total hours minus my regular hours. And if they don't have any overtime, that should be 0. And we copy that down and we see that Heather gets some overtime pay and Kylie gets some overtime pay. And then you would calculate in whatever that overtime pay was going to be. All right, so that's kind of our different if functions. I'm going to stop this video, and then when I come back, I'll show you some neat new functions with multiple criteria and ands and ors and nots.